Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about saying stop. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, what was your moment when you realized that you needed to say stop? For whatever reason, personal, mental well-being, family in trouble, whatever else. Well, I suspect that it was not that long ago. Um, I had started to get symptoms of anxiety and stress and so forth that I was fairly unaware of, because I'm one of those, I don't know what to call it, like I'm fairly unaware of my own state of being, if that makes sense. Some people are very in tune with their bodies and they can sort of figure out what's going on and so forth. I'm very stupid, like I'm the dumbest person in the world, so I can't correlate. I couldn't correlate the fact that I felt this almost chronic anxiety and pressure and so forth until I actually had my first panic attack a while. Like this was like forever ago. Like I've never had one in my entire life, and I didn't really think about it. I had never really considered it, right? And so I started to realize that the issue that I had was that I was basically in a situation where, how do I put this in a good way? Because, well, one of the things that has happened to me fairly consistently across my career for at least the last few years, after I became more of a more experienced software developer and got to be a little bit more involved in team leadership, and I'm not saying a senior software developer, but I hope that you understand, like when you get to a certain level and you stop just doing the coding and you start being involved in other things as well as part of the work. Uh, it turns out that I have a bit of a knack for that sort of stuff. So when it comes to organizing things, making sure that a team works efficiently, making sure that people are productive and that quality is good within a system, or the design of the system, like architecture and so forth, it sort of ties into the thing that I've mentioned in a few of my old videos. I have this personal ambition of becoming what I call the universal programmer, where basically anything I want to build, like I can build, or like I can do basically all the things that are necessary in order to run an IT project or run a company, if that is necessary. And I'm not going to say that I know all the things or I'm necessarily the best at it, but I will say that I've reached a point where most people that I work with very quickly start to realize that, all right, Freddie can do a lot of different things, and he's usually good at a range of various things. And so the problem with that is, well, the luxury of only being a specialist is that you're good at one thing, perhaps, and you're very good at that thing, but that also means that you have a finite amount of things, or a much more finite, in theory, set of things that you quote unquote can be roped into doing. But when you're more diverse, that becomes a bit of an issue, or it became an issue for me, because basically what happens is that all of a sudden more and more people need you for various things, and before you know it, and I can only imagine that happening for everybody who's ever started their own business or something like that, or trying to scale up a business, you realize that shit, you have to be 7 people at the same time and do all these things at the same time, and everybody depends on you. And if you're not done with all these different things, other people cannot do their work, and you have to do all these sorts of things with a smile on your faces at the same time, which can be a bit of a challenge. I guarantee you I'm not the first person to say these sorts of things, and I have probably a fraction of the challenges that someone, as I said, who is running their own business or something like that. I mean, God forbid, like something super high stress, like running your own restaurant or something like that, or etc. etc. But I hope that you can sort of relate to the sensation where you realize that you can't actually physically do more. Even if you were to work overtime, you cannot actually fit anything else into your timetable, right? And so what happens is that, at least for me, you become sort of a victim of your own success. And so I usually deal with that with delegating things to other people and trying to train people and invest in people and so forth and so forth. Now the problem that I face with that is that that process takes a bit of time, and usually that works if you have, as I said, only the responsibility of, say, like I know that I can deal with roughly 1 or 2 teams at the same time, if I'm going to, depending on how much need they have and so forth, if I'm going to do all the things. And we're talking like everything from training new people to architecture to product management to like all the things that they might need, right? That's fairly straightforward. The good part is that if you do it right, at least in my opinion, then it sticks, and you don't only have to really do it once. It's sort of the idea of, building a business. If you do it correctly, quote unquote, you only have to do it once, and then other people can help you and offload and so forth if you do it well, right? The problem with that is that also depends on timing, and that's where I had to start saying stop or like stop taking on more responsibilities from my manager, because basically my problem was that when you get a little bit of word of mouth going and people start to realize that, oh, we can actually depend on Fredrik, and not just for the coding, he can actually do that and that and that and that and all of these other things, and oh, he's actually pretty good at this thing over here that we sort of need as well. You sort of become the go-to for all the things very quickly. And if you're like me and you sort of want to, and you feel flattered that people are coming to you and so forth, you don't want to disappoint people, so you take on things. And then the problem, as I said, becomes that even, and this actually did happen, even when you now realize that actually I can't take on anymore, because you have that phase for some people pleasers where they don't say no, and you basically continue until they collapse. Basically, I have stopped that part. I've grown at least that old that I can say no, actually I can't deal with anything else. But when they can't let you, because as I said, you can tell you, oh, put 50% on that and 50% on that, and then like you do these things all at the same time, because literally the company or whoever you're dealing with, they literally need you to do this because it's so impossible, etc., etc. Then it becomes more tricky for you, because they're like, you, as I like to say, if you give them the finger, they're going to take the whole arm, even if you only want to give them the finger, because like now you sort of let the cat out of the bag. They realize that, oh shit, we can depend on you, and so you have to have sometimes some tough conversations. I have been very lucky that I have a manager who sort of understands that, I can tell him, no, actually, I can't deal with anything else. You're gonna have to put some stuff on the back burner. If you let me finish this and that, I can deal with this afterwards. But I can't do more at the same time now, because it's going to, I'm gonna burn myself out, basically. So what I want you to take away from this is that the moment when I needed to say stop was, it wasn't all that long ago, when I actually realized that, I have a very bad connection between like my body and like my conscious mind or something like that, because I didn't even feel that I was starting to get stressed or felt anxiety or anything like that. So I'm trying to deal with that, of course, and sort of address that and realize that I have to accept that I have limits, just as anybody has limits. And it was due to the fact that I was saying, like, I know, like, I don't feel stressed over necessarily my performance when it comes to just doing the things that would be expected of anybody, right? But I'm a bit of an overachiever. Like, I like to do well, and I like to really push it and see how well I can do, because I have this ambition, as I've told you before. And the problem with that is, as I said, if you show that you can handle a lot of stuff is going to come your way if you do it well. And when it all happens at the same time, it's super flattering and super fun for a little while. You feel special, and yeah, cool, I get all this responsibility. And then you see more and more, like, you underestimate how much people need someone who can make things happen and like do things quote unquote well and so forth. And all of a sudden you realize that you have more stuff than you could possibly manage, and now it's hard to say no, because people need this and they really want you to take on more, and they really want it, and they keep on asking, and you have to keep turning them down. And just even the fact that you have to tell people that I can't deal with anything more can be a stressful experience for you. And that's what happened to me. So that's where I started to say, when I realized that actually I figure that I can deal with this amount but not more. And if that is the case, I sort of just have to be humble and accept that some stuff is going to have to fail, because I can't, I can't fix everything at the same time. I can fix everything in due time, but not at the same time. Have a great day.